Yeah, no, that would have been incredible. Yeah, that would have been incredible. An experience for everybody. I mean, obviously get to meet a lot of players around the league, get to experience something that I've never done before, represent the league and the Tigers. And also there were a couple staff members that were going to go that were on previous staffs of mine, which would have been great to reconnect with them. But obviously it's a huge honor. I have great respect for the commissioner's office for reaching out. And when Mike Hill called, it was a pretty immediate yes, despite it was at the end of the season when you're kind of at your empty tank, or empty tank. But yeah, unfortunately it got canceled, but we'd love to do it again, unless we're in the playoffs.
Validation in a sense too for all that you went through back in the scandal thing, and then through that, and now you're back, they're asking you to do something to represent the league.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word validation as much as I just appreciate that they give me the chance to do more good than have that define my entire career. And I do appreciate that. It's something I'll never forget, obviously, that in the lessons that I learned from it. But I appreciate MLB reaching out. Yeah.
Obviously makes sense from a baseball perspective, but just from a personal perspective, teammates,
Yeah.
how much of a loss?
Yeah, well, you grow close with these guys. I have in a short period of time, and then obviously those that have been in the clubhouse the longest. Guys like Miggy, Joe, Soto, Scope. I mean, they've been teammates with them for a long time and had a lot of good experiences. So as I said last night, these guys are great people and great teammates, and we had no problems, and there was no, it was a baseball decision and a business decision to change the look and feel of our team. But and those are consequences that come when you don't win enough, and you've got to make moves. So I love my time with them. The exchanges that I've had with them, via text since they've gone, have been universally positive. But it will feel like a different clubhouse just because of the volume of change that's gone on, in and around the team. Yeah, I think we've been waiting for Joey to take a step forward. And really all he needed was health and opportunity, and he finally had both. And I think for him, it's a great impression to make, a lasting impression when you finish the season the way you did. Like I said in September to you guys, we don't love the September evaluation as the primary part of it, but on a kind of bigger picture, I think he's established himself in the mix to, for any role in the big leagues, that he can get the ball over the plate, he can get swing and miss inside the zone, he can bounce back. The velo started to creep up again, the secondary pitch landed. All things that he took into the fall league, and I'm probably more impressed, or equally as impressed with what he did in the fall league after coming down from the big leagues and then going into the fall league where less people, less stress, less notoriety, less, sort of less of an entire environment, and he maintained what he was doing. Yeah, so I don't think wrong. There's nothing wrong as much as he needs time to develop. I mean, you're going to hear this from us and from me a lot, that we've got to give an avenue for guys to come up, succeed, fail, bounce back, make adjustments. I know in this day and age we want everybody to rocket to the big leagues. They're getting to the big leagues quickly. They're expected to make fast adjustments and be the player that they're going to be right out of the gate. And that wasn't the case for Spencer. But he learned a lot. I think it's probably the first time that he really struggled at baseball and specifically hitting. And when he came back, he was in a much better mental space and a much better physical space to be good. So I'll see what he when we've been in touch with him. I've texted back and forth with him quite a bit. I've connected him. Two of our hitting coaches live in Phoenix, so he'll have some interaction with those guys before camp. But he's in a good place the way he finished, probably more so emotionally than anything. Well, we hope it's good for everybody. I mean, obviously, it's a kind of wholesale change is. It's hard to get to that point because I don't want it to come across like they are to blame. I mean, I think our department was very talented and very good, but when you make different voices, introductions, a new set of eyes, now times 3 that are looking at these guys, they're gonna hopefully, unlock whatever it takes for him to reach his potential. So I think it'll be, he's a perfect example of, like, I don't know which guy's going to make the biggest inroads with him. I don't know which guy's going to have the best relationship with him. I don't know which one's going to have the help that all of our hitters need. But each individual guy's going to figure that out.
Do you think it was an approach situation or a swing mechanic situation? How do you assess it?
Probably all the above. I mean, you're facing the best people in the world, and he was doing it at a super young age with very few at bats in the minor leagues to reflect on. So obviously there's probably, I have to talk to Torque, but it was part mechanical, part approach, part to trying to survive, trying to stay up, looking up on that big scoreboard and seeing numbers that he'd never seen before next to his name. All those are big hills to climb. So I think the more consistent he can become with his setup, his pitch decision making is pretty good. His bat to ball skills is good. Ironically, for whatever reason, he was missing more balls inside the strike zone than Chase. But he's going to be a pretty good player. We have no worry about that.
With our job working with Soto and Tatis,
Yeah.
how did you pitch him on coming to time?
Well, I think some familiarity with the area in Michigan helped. I think the opportunity to come and be part of something that we're building was important to him. Standing relationship with Fett helped. In that meeting in Vegas that I tried to duck all you guys while I was getting in and out of the hotel went really well. I mean, he is a rising star in this game. I talked to Bob about him, Bob Melvin, quite a bit. They were very reluctant to give us permission to talk to him. They had no problems with him, and we just continued on. And it's a perfect match for our organization, given what he brings to the table in terms of his demeanor, his approach, his communication skills. The fact he taught himself to write code in college is remarkable. He won't be writing code for us, but we're very lucky and fortunate to get the permission that we did.
We've talked a little bit about adjusting to the rule changes.
Yeah.
You exploited shifts as well as anybody, probably better. Is there, as you studied, is there a loophole for you to maybe use the same kind of hit data? Obviously, you can't put the players exactly where you want, but you still feel like that can be a...
Yeah, well, I don't know if we're going to do the extra outfielder and a ban and all the things that you hear people creatively trying to come up with. I'll probably try anything, but I think it's going to enhance, our need to get our infielders to have the versatility and the agility that's needed to cover the whole position from the dirt. I think second basemen around the league have gotten used to playing at a huge distance in the back and having especially Scope, having his arm make up for any distance that he wanted to play in the back. That's going to be really different. So I think the exploitation of it's going to be, no one's going to go up there and try to hit hard ground balls through the right side. They're going to get rewarded for some of the mistakes. To defend that, the agility part of the right side of the infield is going to, we're going to be reminded that that's an important skill set for our infielders. Yeah, I mean, Javi, is used to playing on that side, more than anywhere. But I think having the space, I think it's going to be very, very critical. I mean, when we had Ryan Kreidler up in September and seeing his range at third base and at shortstop, that was notable. But yeah, I think guys are going to have to get used to playing it. They're not going to have to relearn it. They didn't forget how to play in open space. But that pre-pitch setup that we talk about quite a bit, the hop that we talk about quite a bit, the first step quickness, reaction time, things that we can all measure now, are going to be dug in on pretty deeply.
Could Scope play anywhere other than second next season?
Yeah, I think he can play a couple of different positions. I think first base is still going to be an option for him. I think third base is probably going to be an option for him. It kind of depends on how the roster is built and what other guys we have available to us. But I know you guys heard this from me the last couple of years, the importance of versatility. I was playing infielders in the outfield. I was putting a catcher in left field. I mean, I'm very much interested in a team that I get as many options as I can to put together a lineup and put together a defensive alignment. And Scott's in line with that wholeheartedly.
So you mentioned it, but how do you view the rule changes impacting his defense at second base, which was so impressive?
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think it's I think obviously for Jonathan relies so heavily on his arm to make some of those outs above average that he made last year. There were a lot of throw plays. They weren't as many range plays as they were the makeup with his arm. The turn's going to be the same. The mobility around second base is going to be, something that we hammer home with him. He's sending me videos every day or every other day about all of his agility drills he's doing back home. So he's making a statement.
When you came to the Tigers, I imagine part of what made the job appealing was the fact that it appeared that you would put in striking distance of returning Yankees Hinch. Now going into your third year, do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I think we can win here. I mean, and I want to win. I think that's something that Scott and I have talked about a ton, is that we are going to do multiple things at the same time while we're breaking in young talent and trying to win that day's game, play as deep as you can, and make a run at the playoffs. I mean, that hasn't changed since the day that I got here, but it's been enhanced by Scott's vision of coming here from a really, really good job in his hometown and taking on the challenge to do it and partner up. So I think for me, the message to the players is not a ton dissimilar to what I've been saying, where we've got to win more series, we've got to play better in our division, we've got to have way better at bats for us to be competitive, and we need to focus on those things that lead to the wins, not just some grand total that we're going to need to be relevant.
Is there a difference when you pitch to free agents this year compared to last in terms of last year, pitching to Detroit as a place to take roots, and it sounds like now there's a little bit more of Detroit's a place where you can improve.
Yeah, well, Scott just got here, so I think his vision being articulated by him and me and others is something that's important from the get-go. I think the message is the same. We want you to come here if you want to win and if you want to get better. Whatever order you want to put those in. I mean, they both need to happen for any of us to feel good about where we're at. So I don't know if it's changed as much as it takes me a little longer to get through the staff changes that we've made in the pitch. It takes Scott a while to get through and articulate his vision. I mean, they become a little bit of a longer interaction just because we've got a lot to talk about to set up whether somebody wants to come here.
Speaking of change, going from Al to Scott, do you think that impacts you as manager very much, and if so, how?
Well, everybody's different to work for, and whether it's responsibility. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like I did all the medical updates, and now we're giving out a medical update sheet. Like, there's just different practices, different processes, different expectations from how we're going to run the day-to-day from one boss to another. So it's been different from, Josh Burns in Arizona to Jeff Luno to Al to Scott, the general managers that I've worked for, and so that's a little bit different. But I think everything can be a little bit different. Just from what everybody values things differently. I mean, Scott didn't answer the question on every single thing he values, but I think that the interaction with anybody's different.
Yeah, who does Scott most comp to of your whole process?
You want me to comp my boss? Who's the most elite boss I've ever had in my life? Are you kidding me? I'm no dumb. It's not my first time at this podium now. I mean, obviously worked under Theo and Jed. I never worked for Theo, but I worked for Jed. But I don't think it's fair to necessarily compare them. But I know he has no off button. I know he can match working hours with me or anybody else that I've ever worked with. I think his continuous learning, his curiosity, decision-making processes, like, I'd rather describe him as elite across the board, and you can pair him with whoever you want.
Jay, you've been part of the pursuit of a lot of free agents of all shapes and sizes and ages. Are you surprised by how much money and how many years have gone just this week to free agents on the other side of 30, 35, 40?
You know, I love the fact that it's early, just for the players, their stability, teams building teams. You know, and I'm speaking more on behalf of the players. Like, it's good for players to have a landing spot early and have teams step up and pay them accordingly. So markets have been, you know, across my time in the game, have been so bizarre. And certainly last year when we had the flurry at the end before the lockout, that sort of signaled a little bit of maybe what's ahead, where players and teams are coming to the table and coming to agreements faster. But I love it for the players because they you know, these guys are people. They want to know where they're going. They certainly are getting rewarded for what they're doing. These are massive contracts that are going out. People are changing teams. I don't see a huge downside of that for players, but I'm not an agent.
Every big contract is going to a player about to turn 30, 35, 40. Is it a sign that teams
No
are
48-year-olds.
that I've noticed. But is it a sign that teams are reevaluating the aging process and the impact of aging in any way?
I don't know. I mean, that's probably for Scott, but I think it signals more and more teams are trying to line their team up to win, and this is what it's taken to get these players to commit to come. So again, I think agreements are the best thing that happens in the game, because when you have you know, players and teams so far apart, it's no fun for anybody covering the game. It's no fun for any of us in the dugout or the fans. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really proud of them because it's hard to get to the finish line. You know, I mean, I've been a part of one that's got to the finish line. I've been part of one that didn't, and a couple near misses. So winning the World Series is so hard. A lot of friends and family, friends and former players and former part of my staff is still there. The medical staff, you know, Carl, the clubhouse manager, ushers, officers. I mean, there's a lot of relationships that are developed over time, and seeing their faces and their joy and for them personally, I think is really cool. Obviously, I want to beat them. You know, we tried to beat them in September, and they came into Detroit smoking hot, and it didn't work. But clearly, my relationships with a lot of people in the organization and around the organization remain super positive.
AJ, given what Gregory went through last year, highs and lows, it's early. Obviously, life can change.
Am I already getting the closer question?
Already? No, I just wonder if, in general, if that's an open competition.
Listen, I don't know. I guess in some ways I'm saying yes because I don't know. I'm not really fixated on that. I really think we need to look long and hard at how you know, how our pen is going to be put together. I mean, obviously, as it stands today, a lot of the same names, and whether that remains a lot of the same roles, I guess will be determined. I love Gregory Soto, the impact that he has on the game, the fear that's instilled when he comes in. You know, there could be an extra walk in there, or there can be a little bit of a walk a fine line, but there are just not a lot of guys like him that walk around the league left-handed throwing 100 with the pitch metrics that he has. We've got to continue to get him inside the strike zone. The more he does that, the more he earns the back end of the game. So it's going to be tied to strike throwing. You know, we're always going to nudge him a little bit and maybe not declare always what we're going to do with him until we get him in the strike zone more often.
AJ, you've seen young players come up over the last 2 years. What has it been like now since the season ended to reflect on player development as a whole and kind of what has happened over the past year since Ryan Garcia took over?
Yeah, Gark's done a tremendous job and has built a great staff. He is, you know, it is fully connected in a lot of areas that's important at the major league level to be connected to. So whether that's the pitching side, you know, we're getting our hitting department. Our hitting guys are down in Florida at a little mini camp that's going on at Lakeland, getting introduced to some of the top prospects around, and the hitting coaches, the coordinators. That to me is nothing but positive. So I think what Gark's influence on the process has been immense. How thorough he's been is exactly what this organization needs to get the processes in place in the minors that we're going to duplicate in the big leagues.
One or two more, guys.
What do you guys heard from Spencer Turnbull?
I just was texting back and forth with Bull. He's doing well. I mean, he's not in Lakeland. He's back home, and he got to take a little bit of a break. He sent me some video the other day with throwing off the mound, and we were going back and forth on some personal things. And he's doing great. He's in a really good place. I think conquering or having a goal of the spring as an active player for the first time. He wants to not be a rehabber. He wants to be get back to being a baseball player again. But he was in good spirits. And our training staff is connected with him. Fett, I'm sure Fett's talked to him. I didn't talk to Fett about him, but this year is so much different than last year, given that we can have these interactions. You know, I can. Some of our players text me back and forth. I just talked to Miggy the other day when he announced this was going to be his last year, and was texting back and forth with Javi turning 30 the other day. So it's nice to be able to continue your relationship and not have that quiet period.
Wish I could have seen that hobby exchange.
Yeah. You didn't see me at the party? No.
Are you expecting the shift changes or the pace of play to require more speed?
So the pace of play or the shift rules, I would say that the clock is going to be a bigger adjustment than where we play. Where we play is going to be very, very standard, and guys will get used to that very quickly. How fast it's going to feel for pitchers and hitters that are egregiously over the time limit is going to be a big adjustment. I'm more concerned with the hitting side than I am the pitching side. I think the pitching side will make an adjustment relatively quickly. The young pitchers, certainly in our camp, are going to have had it before. Eduardo works relatively fast. You know, there's some bullpen guys will have to get a little bit quicker. The hitters are going to probably bark the loudest.
Are you glad this starts day one of spring training?
I want to do it in September when they start talking about it for non-playoff contending teams. We should have started last September. Yeah, I'm glad that we get a 6-week. A lot of these rule changes that have happened, they've been kind of gracefully introduced, and there's not going to be a big reprimand. I don't think you're going to hear. It's going to fall on coaches and the umpires to stay very disciplined with that, because you're not going to be able to just turn it on opening day. These guys are so used to their routines that you can't get lax in that area, or the hitters are going to stress out. It's hard enough to hit nowadays anyway.
Hola mi gente, les habla Raúl Acosta de Lo Sólido para mis hermanos de la máquina deportiva. Hasta las 15 de la mañana, ¿ok? Ok.